Kualitonali, bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to PNN KEXU, Poor People's Revolutionary Radio, 96.1 on the dial in East Oakland. Streaming live online at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is Muteado Silencio con voces migrantes en resistencia. In studio with fellow formerly houses Popoy and poverty scholar Mikanala Latini.
Happy Born Day, Malcolm X and Mama D, Ho Chi Minh, and so many more. Revolutionary ancestors walk in liberation with true tellers, poverty scholars, you and we, from Lenape lands to Uchun to the digital streets. While these settler towns keep up these violent sweeps, right here, us poor peeps, we won't be bought, sold, or turned into products or private property. Mama Earth is not for sale, at least not here, not now. On Poor People's Radio, we remain unsold, unbought, and always free. Happy birthday, Malcolm X and Mama D.
In addition to sweeps and removal, there's another colonial force at work. On the digital streets, the corporate monster known as AI or artificial intelligence. Today we speak with comrades from our sister movement at Sagora Telantras on the violent corporate concept of AI and digital colonization. We will also speak with an indigenous sister who is houseless in so-called Canada, or her resistance to the cellular terror and the abuse by police and politics. The same mess and endless abuse we have right here in Ho Chi Minh, Oakland, the Bay Area. But first, sharing with listeners and viewers of one of the Poverty Scholars Ruthless Radio's reporters from a recent epic on tour of the East Coast Turtle Island with the movie Crushing Wheelchairs. This is just one of from many of the house's poverty scholars who we spoke with on the on tour who reported the same sweep and abuse in so-called New York under the new mayor Mandini.
Yep.
Go ahead,
I got you.
We are in Hudson Yards in New York City, right across the street. But right behind me is Jacob Javits Center, Manhattan, of course, the heart of Manhattan. They have quite a few projects going on right now in this area. You have the condominiums. You have they're building a new tunnel that's connecting Manhattan and New Jersey, and they're also now building another a port authority, a brand new port authority. And with these new construction projects that have been going on, they have like almost exterminated the homeless population in this area. There used to be a lot more homeless people out here. A lot of people have disappeared. A lot of people have been pushed out. I'm consistently harassed. Me and a few of my other brethren that are still out here. We are getting harassed on a daily basis and pushed out, and it's all due to these construction sites and the way that the site managers look at us and they're reporting us just for sleeping, just having a tent set up. I'm highly disappointed at the moment with the mayor. I'm definitely a supporter of him, and I do wish him to have the best administration, best term possible, the most successful term possible when it comes to allocating resources to the people. I'm disappointed because there are certain things like City Folks contract that has not been signed yet. That's in limbo. And I feel like outreach workers are not doing what you said that they were going to do, with coming outside 7 days a week until somebody gets moved. Like I can tell you that that's not happening. I'm in the streets. I can tell you that NYPD is still very unapologetically aggressive when it comes to dealing with us. And we just wish that I hope that maybe we could change this.
Yeah, that was Brother Andrew, and shout out to Rent Refusers and so many of the warriors from Occupied Lenape that we had the blessing of speaking with, and a shout out to so-called Northampton, Massachusetts, to Wampanoag Territory in Boston, to relatives in Mama D's homeland, North Philly, the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, to so many relatives, and to Dr. Jared Ball and so-called Baltimore and Metahoney territory and DC. We had the blessing of convening with a lot of extremely powerful poverty scholars. And let me just tell you, relatives, these violent sweeps are all across occupied Turtle Island. And stay tuned later in the show as we speak to another Indigenous sister warrior in so-called Canada who's dealing with this, as well as the powerful poverty scholar voices from the UNTOUR that we will be hearing from. This is research, as we call it, poor people-led research. Us horizontally speaking with other people who are struggling with these same things as we lift up the medicine, the cinematic medicine of crushing wheelchairs, which is a powerful reenactment of our lives. We aren't acting, we are living. And in that living and that reenacting, we are liberating. And for the Bay Area folks, it will be coming to Occupy Del Amo, Frisco, and as part of the Social and Economic Justice Film Fest on July 25th. And it'll be down in Tabongar at the Eagle Theater on June 25th. But moving right back here to the Bay on May 26th, join us as we, houseless survivors of this violent war on the poor, hold a Cross Bay speak out and demand for the reopening of these violently closed emergency shelter beds, safe parking lots that are never safe, tiny homes, and all these so-called fake politics or solutions that are never meant to last. We need those back because, yeah, they were a roof. And we need you to start redistributing these millions of bloodstained dollars that you receive, these giant non-profiteers, for so-called housing us. And these politricksters who receive all this so-called homeless money, and all they do with it is fund the removal and the violent sweeps of our bodies and our lives, which we all know ends up in our death. But yeah, May 26th, we'll begin in Uchun, Oakland at 10:30 at Oakland City Hall. Then we will go into Occupy Del Amo, San Francisco at 12 noon to meet in front of that City Hall and join our relatives from Coalition on Homelessness, our relatives from Wood Street Commons, all the other poor and houseless folks who are being silenced in this moment. Tiva, can you bring up the Nowhere to Sleep flyer, and please join us again May 26th as we snap back, as we holler back on this violence, and we demand our resources back from these non-profiteers and these politricksters who continue to sweep us like trash. So, having said that, we will be speaking more on that later in this broadcast, so please stay with us. But now we want to switch to another kind of settler colonial terror, because that's what it is. We have the blessing of speaking with a Indigenous sister warrior from our beautiful relatives at Sigorte Land Trust, who has been framing this monster, this corporate monster called AI, artificial intelligence, which it absolutely, by the way, at Poor People's Radio, Poor Magazine, People's School have nothing to do with. Okay, can we just stop for a second? No, you don't just have to do it because it's out there. It's the corporate Kool-Aid. And what you have to do is step away from it. That's an act of resistance and liberation. We have our own sovereignty. We have our self-determination, family. Please, with it's coming, we might as well do it. No. That's corporate Kool-Aid. That's what they want you to think. So we have a badass sister warrior if you could bring up that IG page just for the framing Tibu, and we're gonna bring in
Oh.
Sister Warrior Kiki to deconstruct the beautiful framing that they had and that we all believe and agree with on this concept of digital colonization. Kiki, welcome to Poor People's Radio.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For sure, for sure. Thank you for being here, taking the time, and I hope that listeners really are tuning in and listening into this medicine. Kiki, can you explain kind of what you and family mean at Sigurte about this idea of AI as digital colonization?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so first, yeah, my name is Kiki King. I'm originally from Thunderchild First Nation in Saskatchewan. And also my mom's side of the family is Akwesasne in upstate New York. And yeah, I started doing some research on AI a couple months ago to working with the media team at Sigorte. And so what was supposed to be just like a couple, infographics about the water usage of data centers ended up being like a really, really dense, long, like almost really excruciating hours of research, because at every portal of our lives, this AI and really like AI is just this tool of surveillance, so it has crept into our lives. And I was calling the I mean, I ended up writing like a seven-page essay that we still haven't published because there's so much coming out where at some point I'm just gonna have to like cut myself off and publish it. But yeah, there was it's that I was calling like the digital world is like the final frontier of colonialism, because it is so integrated in our lives where we are actually more plugged in than our devices are. Really, like we can't it feels like we depend so much on technology to communicate. Like our need for human connection is being weaponized against us, and they've non-consensually harvested so much of our data, and privacy laws, like violating our privacy, our biometric data is at risk. There's and at this point, like I think that it had snuck in so it was just, yeah, it was so sneaky, like funny face filters on TikTok or whatever it was, and they're like scanning and collecting your data and selling it off. And so it's spiritually evil. There's so much evidence to show that researchers at I think it was MIT found that it doesn't matter like what you do, it doesn't matter like what type of person you are. That AI chatbots are designed to pretty much like kind of like brainwash you. And so if you have daily use of AI chatbots, you are like 100% susceptible to just believing them, which can lead to like AI psychosis. There was also like, if you use AI chatbots every day or daily use, then you are at least up to 30% more likely to experience depression. So it actually depresses you from using it, which I think these are all tools again of just modern day colonialism.
For real. I wanted to. Oh, did you want to add anything?
No, go for it. I'll go after you.
Okay, I wanted to just slow down a bit and just let kind of deconstruct some of these things, right? Because they're so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. And that is part of. It's so beautiful that you made the connection between colonial forces and colonialism. Because let's be real, in the stealing of Mother Earth by all these colonial terrorists, one of the important parts of that is the way that they steal our mind and the way that they frame, you know, use and abuse and ease and comfort and speed and, oh, this is fast and we'll get it even faster now. And, these are all part of the Kool-Aid, right?
Right.
As we struggle, I know that you probably know that we do a liberation school here, Decolonize Academy, with our young folks. We were just struggling to figure out how to not use it because we learned about the violence as part of the teaching that we do. And all the young folks were like, whoa, and they didn't want to touch it anymore. Because the minute the truth is told, everybody overstands. The 36,000 gallons of water for an AI review search, for Christ's sake, of drinkable water. Every time you click on that AI review, family, that's 36,000 gallons of drinkable, fresh mama water. So, and so one of those pieces, but one of the things that I think is terrifying to me, because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here with the iPhone, okay? And shout out to Dee Allen and to Momi, who have a flip phone, and Dee, who has no phone. These are members of Four Magazine, elders that we love because they know they didn't drink any part of the Kool-Aid. But I guess what I'm wondering is are there ways, and in your research, have you been able to disentangle? Is there ways to take, part of our lives off it? Or is that really just us brainwashing ourselves? Are we really needing to absolutely move away from these systems to recolonize?
It's a good question. I mean, I think we're seeing very quickly a lot of movements that are against AI. There's a lot of stuff going on in Utah right now with this like world's biggest data center, and their community pushing back. The city hall approved this data center without their consent. They locked themselves in a back room, didn't allow any comment, and so the community came back and removed every person that voted yes on this data center. And so it's showing that the average person is not supportive of AI, and I think that's also part of why there's such a huge push for AI, like why these tech companies are trying to just like build as fast as they can, because ultimately the people don't really want it. So they're kind of like trying to sneak it in while there's people who are not talking about it. And also just to speak on the water usage, it's harrowing, really. There's it's like 1.8 billion gallons of water, billion with a B, gallons of water annually. And this was, I believe, as of 2025, I think. So that was still a year ago. There's already been new data centers. Some of them are like 500 million gallons per day. You can't even quantify it, really. Like, it's really overwhelming. But in terms of your question, I think, I think one of the main pushes that we can do as community is to disengage. One of the main AI companies is OpenAI, who does ChatGPT. So they've already lost a lot of money, and so that's kind of like where people are seeing that, like, if we can collectively sort of like boycott something, that we're collectively weaponizing our buying power. And so there are a lot of movements against ChatGPT. People, like, they're losing users, deleting your account with them, disengaging, blocking them on all socials, that kind of thing. And probably what you're doing right now in terms of having these conversations and communicating with other people, and spreading the truth of like what these data centers are. And I think, the worst part of all of it is that there's really no benefit. That there's plenty of studies now that have come out that they don't actually, they don't even benefit really the companies that are investing into them. And so I believe it's really like an inflated value that once that pops, that's a whole other economic conversation to have, because then it's going to affect the tech companies that are artificially inflated by this thing. So anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But the best thing that we can do right now is just disengage as much as we can.
What did you?
Well, thank you, Kiki, and the folks from Seguro Land Trust, for the work you guys are doing. My thing on that too is that, um, again, I did heard places like Oakley, which is Miwok territory, introducing ordinance. They know what data centers do, and so before some of these tech companies come to their cities, they're already saying we don't want them here.
Yeah.
They've been proactive about refusing to bring data centers into their cities over there in Oakley, Miwok territory. Um, my thing too, it's and losing my thought, but a lot of people would just say, "Oh, it's just a filter." Unfortunately, too, I'm getting to see even some in our communities, in the dance community, using some of those flyers even to make it, to
Yeah.
announce ceremonies, and I feel also that a lot of our people that don't have this information, of what AI is doing to indigenous communities and the harm that it's creating to Mother Earth. That I feel there has to be a whole teaching, to a lot of our folks who don't know, who are naive about, oh, it's just a filter or just a flyer. I don't. And another thing too, a lot of artists, who used to design some of these flyers, who used to design some of these artwork, my sister Tanya was saying there was a whole protest, of artists and folks who again see this also against erasing grassroots artists who design our beautiful flyers and stuff like that. So it's politicizing and making conscious our own people they're starting to use, and again who say, oh, it's just a little flyer, ain't hurting nobody.
Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Yeah. I would just, I mean, just for nuts and bolts for listeners and viewers, and love to our relatives who are tuning in, and shout out to Lori and Frankie and so many others in the Poor Magazine family who are not touching that ish, period. Um, and like you said, Kiki, just disengaging. But I wanna clarify for listeners and viewers. One of the things our youth scholars at Decolonize Academy and Poor Magazine actually discovered, because the young folks know what's up with the digital streets, good, bad, and indifferent, is in the search, in the, what is that called? The browser. In the browser, on the top thing up there, family, on your web page in Chrome or any of them, you can do minus AI and then space and put your search thing. That little thing will ensure that AI is not used when you search a topic. So punto, right there, family. Start with that. Yes, if you even vaguely have a chat GPT app, get rid of that ish. Hello. If it's nothing but stupidity. And I'm sorry if some folks like it, and you don't have to love me, family. You know that I'm always going to tell the truth, even if it hurts. But if we're going to activate to liberate, if we're going to talk about revolution and liberation, please let's not operate in hypocrisy. Let's recognize that Mother Earth and Mother Water, that our meager resources that we're barely trying to heal and rematriate and take care of, have to be loved and taken care of and not extracted and destroyed. That is not a revolutionary act. You can't choose your revolution. And I want to just lift up, I love all my fellow movement relatives, but those of you who walk in the corporate Kool-Aid and just, oh, I'm just going to do a flyer. Bled, that's hypocrisy. That's drinking the Kool-Aid, whether it be a sip or a gallon, okay?
And they're generic, and then all that.
That part. And I have to say that it's not easy. I understand that. especially as poor people movements. I want to lift up, my fellow poor people movements out there. You know who you are. Yeah, we don't have the money for graphic designers. We don't have time because we're holding it down with 3 and 4 jobs. We're taking care of our babies and our communities. We're trying to do the work. But you can't make those kinds of decisions to the detriment of your mama earth. We all need that water. We all love liberation. We all supposedly walking a different way, away from capitalism, away from extraction. These are all connected, as Auntie Momi says. Kiki, we really appreciate you. Any last words that you
Well,
want
I
to?
just
Oh,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, to Kiki, she might
Yeah.
know more of these. Do they fact check what's being input into the Chat GBT?
No, actually, ChatGPT cannot even differentiate between fact and belief. So it's also a machine of misinformation because it will source information from things like Reddit or Facebook posts where, and no, it doesn't know how to fact check because it can't tell what's a fact. It doesn't have that ability.
What's a fact and what's not a fact?
Yeah, it's really, really, really scary. And there's something called AI cannibalism where the AIs are training each other. And so then, I mean, like what could go wrong with that, right? So, yeah, I appreciate the time.
Can you tell
I just want
listeners?
to,
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just
I just
gonna
want
say,
to make like another connection with Southern
Please.
colonialism before I wrap up.
Yes.
I think like it's important to remember that settler colonialism doesn't exist without the exploitation of indigenous peoples and the land that it's on. And so I think for me, that's really like the main connective tissue here of like this conversation around AI and the process in which it's really about domination over sovereign beings. So, it's infiltration, occupation, for the sole purpose of exploitation. And so, yeah, and, indigenous people are being harmed in many, many ways, as are just the most marginalized people in society. But ultimately, it will come for everybody, right? So, as capitalism tends to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that connection as well.
Ashe. And let's not forget our brothers and sisters in the DRC, Congo, Sudan, Somalia,
Yes.
right? All of these relatives all across Mother Earth who are just being seen as spaces for more extraction, both our bodies, our lives, our Mama Earth, our babies. There are so many ways that the settler colonial terror is now infiltrating these digital streets that are now infiltrating our minds. There's a lot of work we have to do to decolonize. There's a
Yeah.
lot of right. That's
Yeah.
that's a big one. I want to just say that youth scholar Tibu on the ones and twos is absolutely against AI as well, and he's
he
bringing.
doesn't not use AI.
That's right, and he's bringing up your beautiful slide deck. Kiki, you're going to be publishing that piece soon, and I hope let's continue to have this conversation. When you do, let's bring you back, and we can, talk about doing a teach-in. I really want to lift
Yes.
up all of the work that y'all are doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm hoping to have it out by the end of this week. There's a few adjustments that we've been having to make, but in the meantime, I want to shout out Honor the Earth. They're an organization, Indigenous-led organization, that they've been doing a ton of anti-AI work in Indian country. You just a quick search of their name, you'll see a lot of stuff, and they also have resources on their website that will give you a rundown on how to disengage from AI. And so, yeah, they have a whole workshop slide. I definitely recommend looking into them.
Ashe, and that's Honor the Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Honor the Earth and Sigorte Land Trust, please follow those folks.
Yes.
You will not be walking into AI.
Yes.
Walking into truth for Mother Earth. Thank you so much, Kiki. We love you so much. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
We'll
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
That's
All right.
Kamati.
Ashe. Yeah, you're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. Rest assured, there is as little to do with the digital colonial streets that we can on these airwaves, even though, we hear on Instascam and Face Crack and all the other digital streets, walking those two frightening worlds and trying to figure out where to put our feet. So I wanted to switch gears now and bring in our relative. Is our sister in the? Okay. So for those of you who know, these violent sweeps continue to happen all across Mother Earth. So-called Canada, uh, you know, that is occupied territories of Turtle Island are no different. And we have been, in contact with relatives before about so much sweeps violence that continues to perpetrate against houseless relatives in that part of Turtle Island. We were alerted recently by a beautiful sister warrior who is First Nations sister warrior and is also houseless in so-called Vancouver about what's been happening to her, and we'd love to bring her in. Go ahead, introduce yourself, sis, and tell us what's going on.
Wait, hold up. Hold up.
Sorry, we're gonna give us one
Go ahead.
second.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Hans. Introduce yourself and welcome to Poor People's Radio.
Hey, white, quite up. Ida Manuel, West. I'm Sequatum, Shuswap, and I'm in here living in my RV in the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Tsleil-Waututh and the Musqueam and the Squamish. And yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you all. Thank you for having me. And what I'm dealing with most recently is, and as I shared on my video, is the Vancouver Police Department that was creeping on me while I was walking my cats. And I feel like they were trying to instigate something there, problems for me. I've been here for over a month now, and unfortunately my vehicles broke down. And yeah, it's last stages for me to figure out next steps, and I've applied to numerous housing, and I haven't heard anything back yet. I was told that being on actively looking for housing would be beneficial to me in the sense of the terrorism of the sweeps, and this is what I've been expressing to outreach while I've been out here. The different ways, the mannerisms of which I've been handled in more than one occasion of police brutality my family and I have experienced, all the way back to even when we were housed. And it was an effect that made us feel unsafe in our home. And what led to us being out here too was violence from unit inspectors that pushed my daughter, and they affected her to fall down the stairs, and I managed to get there just in time, so we didn't feel safe in there anymore. And they mocked and just made it very worse than it had to be when we were moving out. Going to from living in our unit for over 7 years to that was one of the longest homes I've ever held. And then we went into moving. Someone offered their basement for us to, it was very cold, and we stayed there for a bit, and then multiple vehicles until I am where I am now in this RV. Yeah, so this business that I'm parked in front of, they don't seem to have any issues. Maybe they'd probably like to see me move along, but they saw my cats before, and he seemed to be fine with them. So I'm not sure that night when the VPD were here. I didn't notice them at first, and they were positioned themselves at an angle across the street, and they were shining their headlights at me. And as a lone Native woman, that's really scary, like I find myself, though, my tolerance for their shenanigans is I'm past it. Like
Yeah.
I see them, I immediately go to rage and anger and the trauma. I'm diagnosed with CPTSD, and they don't put any of these things into factors except for weaponizing them against us as unhoused.
Mm.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, it should be something that they consider, seeing how there is such a thing as MMIW, as a red dress, as the orange shirt. And, you know, coming from, you know, both my parents residential school survivors, and I just, when is it enough, when these foreign occupants, these foreign governments are, when is it enough, you know, like when is it going to be enough that they stop, you know, tormenting us. um, so 2 days before the VPD came and were shining their lights at me, 2 days before that happened, Thursday, by the way, Thursday evening. And last Tuesday, I got approached by SPCA. So that's a stress that I have right now. I have 2 cats and I'm living in this RV. And I don't know what their concerns are. I don't know. For my safety, I try not to advertise how I'm ventilating and such, you know, for protections of like break-ins and such, right? So, but you know, there is adequate ventilation. I don't know what their concerns are. I've got them to agree to meet me on Wednesday, so I have that coming up tomorrow, to find out exactly what their concerns are. Everybody's saying somebody made a complaint, but when I see the VPD roll up 2 days later and shine their lights on me, and I'm just walking my cats, it seems too coincidental that, you know, are they involved with that complaint? And is that a system and process that they offset each other? You know, they're all connected.
Right.
And I hate to think that, you know, there's people that would say, you know, negativity or naysayer, but I have to call it as I witness it, as I experience it.
Please.
And the police can't be trusted, you know, with my life, with lives of all my relatives, especially if you're of color, you know, and being out here, you're more vulnerable than ever, right? And the sweeps process. I don't know if you guys are aware. There's the FIFA coming to town.
Oh, what?
Oh, they're sweeping so many people from this area. I've already heard and saw photos of people popping up way up north or on the island, or even in Alberta or Kamloops, and they're showing up with shirts that say East Van, you know, downtown East Side. So it's recognizable that they're coming from this area. And the more conversation that's going on online, people are saying this is a practice they've already been using in the past for the, what is it, the Olympics and the Expo 86 and whatever else, other examples. I'm sure there's more, but so when you see that and you use that as an example of their practices, you know, this is long in place of them um, stalking and surveilling Native women, Indigenous. And it brings me to wonder about how much more involved or attached are they to our missing and murdered, you know, unsolved cases and such. And it doesn't make me feel any safer, you know, to find them surveilling me out here as an unhoused. Often when they bring, like I've been approached as unhoused more than once by bylaw, and they usually bring the whole works. I've been approached. There was one time I was approached by 4 bylaw, and since I've been in this,
What's
so
bylaw for listeners? What's bylaw?
oh, the municipality, they're agents that come out and ticket and fine all their bylaw codes, for their municipality. So
Mm.
parking infractions or whatever, and
Oh,
there's no room in those for Indigenous. This is what I'm saying. Like, why are Indigenous being, and just now I'm starting to see people talk about it. Why are Indigenous paying these fines on stolen lands, on
thank you.
especially host nations? Why are they paying?
Oh,
And I was saying, if City of Vancouver is going to force me to pay, I'd rather pay and divvy it to the host nations than pay the colonizer who's causing more ongoing trauma, which affects what I say is our mortality. In the end, is the connected to the ongoing genocide. One of the layers that I say of the ongoing genocide. I didn't mean to just keep talking.
No, you're doing it's beautiful, hon. I just want to first of all send you so much love from all of us at Poor People's Radio. We've all been there, done that. We're having this struggle out here in Uchun, so-called Oakland. So similar. One of the things that I think is important to lift up, and I appreciate you doing that, but we're always trying to, make those connections is, first of all, this is occupied land. Let's not get it twisted. And how is it that any First Nations relatives are houseless on, on Turtle Island, on occupied Turtle Island? There's been a major shift that needs to happen. They're talking about reparations, repair. Why aren't you, as a sister and a survivor, being given land, for Christ's sake, in that land, in that territory, or again, as you pointed out, giving resources to the host nations of that territory. None of these things are talked about in that framework because they don't want to, because that way they have to deconstruct the settler lie of private property and public property and all of their millions of fake settler lies, laws, right? So first of all, just by your speaking out, you are resisting. I appreciate you. I love that you're making the connection of MMIW. I did a poem once. My mama is missing. My mom was Taino, Afro-Taino, and was an orphan of the state in Philadelphia. And she was not, First Nations to this land. Her peoples are from Puerto Rico. But one of the things that always stuck out for me is these connections between, destroying communities and then going after the women and the mothers and the daughters. There's no accidents there, right? And so the fact that now that we're houseless, we're even more vulnerable to the state terror is absolutely on point. So much gratitude to you for bringing those connections. I think one of the things, because we're running out of time right now, but I want to just first of all offer to you, if you have the energy, the time, etc., to do some writing, we would love you to be a columnist, a reporter for Poor People's Media out there. We have correspondents all across Turtle Island, so just big up and love. and sometimes it's hard to even focus when we're in the middle of this trauma, so I get that. We'll talk more about it. But the other thing is, absolutely, with these corporate games, right? The FIFA, the Olympics, the gentra effing that happens before it, the evicting, the removing, the cleaning, all right? All these hygienic metaphors that they say about poor and indigenous and houseless people. We're getting calls from Atlanta right now, so-called Atlanta, because they're dealing with the same thing. They're having violent sweeps of houseless black and brown folks from the streets. And then somewhere else too. It's all over, right? So I think it's very important for us to make these connections. And what I wanted to ask you as we're closing out, in the FIFA World Cup mess that's coming there, have they, like, are they built stadiums? Is there like this whole push to have some, not only quote unquote clean, getting rid of us, and it's different ways of saying erasure, but are they building these stadiums to hold these games, or are they just getting rid of folks willy nilly? What is happening there in that town?
being in my own world of surviving here, I have to stay so close to my vehicle, as you are aware. I almost don't even know what's going on outside of my survival mode, but I haven't seen or heard of any venues being created for. I honestly haven't. But as I've gone around town, there are some. What would you call it? I would consider murals, because they're painted onto the pillars of the overpasses, and it says FIFA 2026. So that's closer to the stadiums downtown. So I'm assuming they're going to use one of the venues that's already in place down there. And I put a story out and said somebody should put their tent in front of that FIFA sign, that FIFA whatever banner or whatever mural, and raise the awareness and how they're sweeping people, particularly. I don't know, their processes um, seem apparently different for how they deal with those that are living out of their vehicles and those that are living out of tents. Because the tents are, I feel, more vulnerable because they're right out there, and they're still figuring things out around those that are living in their vehicles. Isolating us individually would, like, when you're in your own, um, you're being tormented in your own situation, and you're worried about your own vehicle, your own roof over your head. You're isolated and you don't realize, it's all of us need to connect and chain link together, even though it's challenging because they keep everybody moving. For me, being in the same spot has given me witness to seeing some things in a different sense, as if they were chasing me around. I wouldn't see it the same. So
Yeah.
you
Let
know
me let me ask, just because we're running out of time. Let me ask you, how can listeners or viewers support you? Just to follow you on IG, Ida.Manuel, but are you putting up a GoFundMe? Are you trying to get any other support right now?
I somebody created a GoFundMe a while ago, and it seems like it's still there anyway. I can share that, and I have
Definitely.
other friends try to create a different, where I had suggestions to create it through a different, because of GoFundMe and its implications and such.
Yeah.
But I can share those with you. I do have Facebook. I do have TikTok, and sorry I don't have the names. I can share with you later. But the handles, the labels.
I see. Okay.
But,
Well,
yeah,
sis,
tuning in, because I do use lives for. I try to record because I know the lives can get interrupted or censored. But I do try to record and share it. But if I if for any reason I feel like I need witness with me right now, I do go live for those when I feel that my life is uh, um, being threatened. And it's typically the police that are the threat. So,
yeah. Well,
I just wanted to add, what are the police doing in the sweeps processes? They got no business. It's like they're there to protect those workers and it's nothing to do with, they don't protect us. Police do not protect us.
Not
So
at all.
sorry to add that and squeeze that
so
in your time, but
it's so real, hon.
there's so much more I could say. So yeah, I am interested in sharing more that
I'll be
experienced being out here.
Yeah, I'll be hitting you up separately because we're gonna figure out how to continue to collaborate. Your voice is extremely important, sis. Please, I know it's so hard right now what you're dealing with, and I've spent a lot of my life with my mom on the street, so I'm right there with you. And just letting you know, we're all behind you. We love you, and we appreciate your voice. And we'll talk soon, okay? Thank you. You're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN. As our last little bit that we're going to speak about is bringing it back to the violence of these sweeps right here in Uchun. Can you bring up the Chronicle piece there real quick, Tibo? I just want to show people the insanity of the politics and the hate. We were just alerted to the fact that Newsom intervened because I guess Marshawn, I don't know his last name, but famous, football?
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch.
No, okay.
Was bothered by a houseless encampment outside of his house, which is really interesting to me. And I don't, of course, Marshawn Lynch is not going to hear this. Maybe you will. I don't know. Somebody who knows him, send it to him. But there you are, making billions of bloodstained dollars from that corporate enterprise, that extractive enterprise of so-called sports. And, all power to the work that you had to do to get there. That's no joke. And you've got people on the street in front of you who have nothing.
Wait. Okay.
And you're going to attack them? I don't understand that kind of violence from housed people.
There we go.
Just that you don't want to see us. It's so much casual hate to me. How did that hurt your house? How did that hurt your billions? So anyway, it's just terrifying to me, and that's what capitalism is filled with. That's why, again, I urge folks to watch I Mix What I Like and other anti-capitalists like Dr. Jared Ball. Did you want to add something to that about Marshawn? Oh.
Well, yeah, by the way, I was a fan of Marshawn Lynch before this. Again, he's all about for the town,
Just like Ken Houston is for the town.
No, I don't want to compare him. He ain't that bad. He's confused. I feel he's confused. What I'm saying is, but also it shows too. A lot of the, let's be real, community folk, people who are for the town, for some of these teams, for these corporate teams, might not be rooting for the houseless neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for black and brown folks, even right here in our city. Let's be not sugarcoated. There are a lot of the times the people calling 311 in the city and unhoused communities is our own people, who happen to now own home. Now you own a home, and now you want to protect your private property, right? And forget, that person that you're trying to, rush away, with someone's uncle, someone's auntie, who are going through it. I will hope that the Marshall Lynch will actually put in some funds. You don't want them in front of your house. Why don't throw some funds so some of these folks can get a decent living somewhere. And I know Marshall Lynch got that. He got it like that.
Yeah, there's a challenge, Marshawn. No hate.
So yeah, redeem yourself.
Let's liberate. All love. For any of you watching and viewing, you might be able to hit them up. The conversation. It takes a lot to decolonize and degentrify our minds. We know that we've all been lied to in capitalism, but like me and Leroy, my brother Leroy Moore say, we don't get down with capitalism, no matter what color it is. So I just want to throw that out. Right. As we close out today, I want to share the beautiful Untour video. It's just some of the voices from the epic Untour of Crushing Wheelchairs. We'll be posting it on IG so people can check it out. But we're going to preview it here. It was done by Tibu. So much love from fellow poor, houseless, black and brown folks back east. So
right on.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tibu.
Okay. Here we
condominiums. They're not building housing for us. They're building everything against us. Can I get a witness on that? Right?
This movie gets right to the heart of it. They should see it because they would understand more. Big changes need to be, brought to the present. Definitely.
I'm honored to have been in association with Poor Magazine for a really long time. And because of that association, just as a sort of distant supporter of their work, I've been fortunate enough to be in their sort of atmosphere of supporters and involved in helping them distribute their magazines, some of their poetry work, and then of course in trying to help promote this incredible film. Something that I think should inspire us, both in terms of the kind of media we could produce and the kind of media we would want to consume.
I was moved as a filmmaker to see a film made by people who obviously had lived those experiences. So I could tell that this was like really a people's film or people's theater.
I think that it was very intense, it was very powerful, and I think what I appreciated about it most was the fact that it was from the perspective of folks who had a lived experience, which is not often what you see when it comes to speaking about this type of topic.
The film was really, it was tear jerking because a lot of what happened in the movie is what I see every day in the streets. It's a little bit of what I went through as well when I was unhoused. It just really showed the struggles of living on the streets, working multiple jobs, and still not being able to have like a place to call home.
It's so beautiful, but it's this beautiful struggle that I hear about, and I was feeling it viscerally the entire time. I mean, it was like intense, but it was, and I'm not a person to just look at movies just for like leisure, but this is one of the type of films, if I'm going to look at a film, I'm going to look at this because I felt the entire, it was an experience more than something I was watching.
I couldn't help but really truly empathize with the characters and really relate to a lot of them in my own ways. It was a beautifully done film.
I think it's an incredibly important film. I gotta be honest, the white liberal section, I was feeling nauseated. But it was so important that it was in there, and it was done very well.
This movie really brings you inside and really goes against what the media tries to portray us as being unhoused, all these stigmas that are placed on us. Why we are in communities, not encampments, but we're in communities because we need that support of each other. So it's really inviting you in to see how much, we're really there for each other.
This is a powerful tool. I think everybody should go and see it.
Oh. Just a few
Wow.
of the powerful poverty scholars who we had the blessing of speaking with, teaching with, and sharing with. Again, the movie's coming back to the Bay on July 25th as part of the Badass Social and Economic Justice Film Festival at the Victoria Theater in occupied Ilamo, Frisco. And then also it'll be in Tavongar with our fellow relatives from Etna Street Solidarity and other folks at the Eagle Theater on June 25th, followed by a street newsroom. So come through. It's going to be badass. And also just to remind folks to bring in and just bring up that we are fighting that same system right here. And so join us on May 26th on both sides of the bay, 10:30 in Uchun in front of that city hall with family from Wood Street Commons and other relatives, and then over in Ilamu at 12 noon. Again, Tuesday, May 26th. Lastly, just a little PSA, that's Poverty Scholarship announcement, that we will be having our healing hub. Our beautiful healing hub. If you could bring up that flyer, Tibu, because we know that this, like the sister said from so-called Vancouver, this complex trauma kills us, and we need to heal in many ways. So one of the things we work on is the Poor People's Clinic, radical redistribution of healing practices so that we can survive. We'll be bringing that to Ilamu, to the beautiful Ilamu Homefulness at 3390 Cesar Chavez Street, soon to be called Farm Worker Road, hopefully. And that's going to be this coming Friday, May 22nd, at 10 a.m. Everybody, all free, sliding scale cafe lunch, free produce giveaway, all love, all healing, our liberation. Because as we always say, Mama Earth is not for sale.
So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get the complete podcast, you can go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or whatever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Poor Magazine, or at Poverty Scholar or on Poor News Network on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power!